Good morning, everybody. This is Dee Reinhardt. We're going to start our webinar today on personalized training and employment plans. And we're going to turn the floor over right away to Natasha Telger, who is going to guide us through the session this morning.
Okay, thank you. Good morning, everyone. Today we are going to talk about the, I see it, make sure we have the right here thing. I just see a typo, sorry about that. We're going to take a look at the personalized training and employment plan. We're going to look at the components of that plan and the resources and tools, and then we're going to take a look at some next steps. So with the personalized training and employment plan, just like with all the major components within the ATIM tools, we're going to have a dashboard available to you so that you can easily have, a quick glance of, for the people that are in your team, you can take a look and see, who's on target, who's on track, who's off track. You can take a quick look at the status for each of those. And you'll see that for each of these areas, we have links, or we will have links, so that you can easily click on that link and see those people, the information for those individuals in your team. The personalized training and employment plan will include the following areas. We have the career plan, we have expanded bridge, we have optional training and technical training, and then the job openings and placements. The technical training, job openings, placements, the expanded bridge, career plan, those are required areas. And as you can see, we have one area that's for optional training. And the optional training is for, it has additional components in it that are for, let's say, an individual that might need to take, have some adult ed classes to raise their math level up or raise their reading. So those might be required for some of your participants. We also have some additional MSSC certification areas that may be required by some of your employers in your area. And identify which areas are required. This process and roles, responsibilities, this is available on the ATIM online guide, and it just shows you the components, shows that this occurs in ATIM. As you know, we have some of the process steps that would take place in IWDS or in the random assignment system. This is taking place in ATIM when we're talking about the plan itself. We also indicate who has access to that area. So the individuals with the green have the write access, customers have the read-only access, and then we identify who we recommend as to being the team, the partner that marks the service complete for each of those areas within the plan. The first part of going through the personalized training and employment plan is to establish the teams. So with this release, you will have the ability if you haven't already identified the people and let us know who those people are, that it should be in your teams, then please let us know right away so that we can, number one, make sure that they have an Illinois WorkNet account, and so that we can give them access to the ATIM tools. So send that information to info@illinoisworknet.com, and we will work with you to make sure that have the post-secondary, we have adult ed. So just let us know which role that team member needs to have. And then also for the region that they need to have access to. So some cases you have local workforce investment areas that have access to multiple regions. We just need to know which region those team members need to have access to. So you'll go ahead, and once everybody has access to the ATIM tools, you can set them up into your team. And then each participant, what you can do is look at each participant's information and put together a plan for them. So we want you to take a look, at their interests, assessments. Each of your areas has different approaches for, which type of assessments that you're going to have people complete. So you'll need to have access to all that information, as well as the training programs that you have access to for your area. So we put together this ATIM team guide for creating and using personalized training and employment plans, and it identifies some of those resources that we recommend having on hand so as you meet as a team. Also, we recommend, you don't always have to get together. You could use a webinar approach or a conference call. You just have the lead person. We recommend having, like the OE or the career advisor to be the lead person so they can indicate and document everything in the person's plan. But as a group, as a team, you can review the information online, from your own computers. So in the end, what we want to do is make sure that you are able to select all of the components for the plan and indicate a start and end date. So we know that as you go through the plan, you may not have information to be able to indicate start and end date. So you'll be able to enter the plan components and then add in start and end dates, as you have those. So once you add in a start and end date, then you'll be able to track if they're on track or off track. That's one of the components of the personalized training and employment plan. Also, you have the ability to add comments. So you can use those comments to communicate within the team. Okay. So when we looked at the sheet with all the partner roles and the different components, you'll see that we'll have the menu items. We'll have the career plan, expanded bridge, optional training, technical training, and job placement. And so, for example, this is the career plan. You have your information overview, profile information at the top. One of the things that you'll definitely see is that you have your assignment. So the people that will have access to the personalized training and employment plan will have an assignment. This is their group assignment, and their group assignment will either be treatment or veteran. If they're treatment, that means that their information is included in the study. If their group is veteran, they still have access and can participate in the program with all the benefits of those that are in the treatment group, but their results are not included in the study. Then you'll also have their SPR study ID for whenever you need to include that information. It'll be in their profile. We have our basic components of the plan, so you can identify what they're interested in, whether it's machining, mechatronics, logistics, or welding. They can, and you can put in here the information for their employment goals, their wage goals, and then their long-term goals. and then you'll be able to update that section. These are some of the basic components that you'll see as we go through this. As I mentioned before, you'll have a feature to indicate start and end plan dates. You'll be able to indicate on track and off track, and this is important because this will impact your dashboard, so you'll be able to see, as a quick glance, how is everyone doing.
Natasha, we have
Yes.
a question from the audience. Could other programs be added?
Like what kind of program?
Chris, if you want to answer that in the chat pod, please, what kind of programs you're speaking about? Chris is typing.
Okay. I'll continue on and I'll take a look at the chat.
Okay.
So you have the ability to add the comments. You will be able to indicate a service complete. So whenever you set up your teams, you can identify who you are requiring to indicate a service is complete. So for the most part, it's going to be the local workforce and LES staff. But in some instances, if you have a person, if you have a person that is, needs to take some adult ed classes, then you might want to have the adult ed person indicate when that service is complete. The user will have a read-only interface, and as I mentioned before, you'll have a dashboard with the links to the information. Oops. Oh.
Okay, so let's go back. The question is machine operations, welding, logistics, and mechatronics. So I think they're talking about the 4 categories. But Mike Baker just asked
Those
Chris
are
if he means another occupational group.
No. Well, those are the areas that are, hold on, let me go back to my, oops, sorry. These are the areas that are the ATIM areas. Those are the occupational areas that are the ATIM areas.
And Sarah, we'll cover that question later when we're done with this presentation.
Okay. So with the first area, we have the expanded bridge, and I have just one, a sample of this because it's going to be pretty much the same for each of the areas, the same basic process, same basic steps. So you'll have your areas where you can add your plan start and end date. In this section, we have some steps that are required, so you can click those to show whenever those are complete. And then in some cases, some of you have covered this information in the ATIM eligibility component, whenever you were going through and looking at the different individuals once you review their applications and gone through that process. So you might already have some of this information. And yes, the TORC is identified as being required. We do have some information available in FAQ about TORC and who to contact and IDS. They participated early in one of the earlier webinars, and was very happy to help provide that service. Okay, so if you don't have some of these assessments already, you can go ahead and schedule them. You can select from the drop-down menu, and you could do, if you wanted to do the NOCTI, or if you wanted to do the work keys or something like that, you can select that from the drop-down menu. Or if you don't see the assessment that you would like to have taken, then you can go ahead and select that an other option and enter that enter the other, use your, you will be provided with a text field to enter that option. And then you enter the scheduled assessment date. And then you just simply add the assessment and you provide your list. If you need to remove it, you just simply click the remove button and you can add in the assessment. Okay. Then we have the create the personalized train and transition plan, and this is more like the bigger components of what they have to do. So we know that they have to, complete the first step. They have to complete the MSSC certification. But this is more about, what are some of the other bigger components? Like we need to identify, a training program. They need to earn a certain certificate. They need to complete their internship. So this is more of a big picture section of the plan. And again, add start end dates. You can just simply type in the criteria, you add it, and then it's added to the list. You click remove, and it's removed from the list. And then this is a section of the document that I showed you. And it's just kind of walks you through the process of, who we recommend, providing that information. So it's a career advisor, the team career advisor. And then the third step is the MSSC requirement to have that training or earning that certificate as part of the expanded bridge. So again, enter in your dates, and then the plan test date, and then update that step. So use the same basic process for each of these. And whenever you go through, like for the next area that we would talk about would be the optional training. So for optional training, does the person need to be in a bridge program? And if they did, then you can add those as required. If not, you can just simply pass over that section. Is there anything else? Does the employer require NCRC or some other certification? If it is, you can click required. Otherwise, pass right over it. MSSC, if there's additional MSC certifications that are required by the employers in your region for that target occupation, select that assessment, click required. Otherwise, pass right over it. And then the next part is the technical training. So again, you'll be able to identify and add those sections as far as which courses that they need to complete for that training, and then put the start and end date. So those will be, dependent upon what programs are available in your area. And then we'll have a section for reviewing job openings and placements. The last webinar we talked about is the forecasting and the job openings. So with the job openings, when a job opening is placed or is put into the system, they can identify whether that job opening work experience should be available to everybody for all the ATIM participants, or is it only available that can be seen by a few people, select people. So that's an option. And then you'll be able to include the planned job placements in the training and employment plan. Okay. And so whenever you complete the training and employment plan, then there will be a read-only view. So you'll have the profile picture. We're still working. That'll be added. Then we have the overview, which you've seen, the overview. They'll have a section that summarizes or includes all the comments that were in their goals. They'll have an overview of their career development activities with the plan start and end dates, as well as their training and transition plan. So they'll be able to see the start and end date and the components on which they need to, the big picture, the big chunks, I guess you could say, for the plan and what they need to complete. They can see if they have, their MSSC, but then they have their optional training. So the plan and start and end dates for those optional training items, and then as well as their technical training. So the key items to take away is that, it really needs to use a team approach. The idea, of taking a look at their assessments, their interests, where's the best fit for them, what are the employer needs, based on, taking a look at their job forecasts and, where are the employers, what are their needs, and then, putting them in those training programs that will offer, training to, get those, provide the competencies. And then also, we will need to make sure that another key thing is to identify the team members because we need to know who they are. Otherwise, they will not have access to the ATIM tools, and they won't be able to provide comments. If they're not in the ATIM tools, then you won't be able to include them as a person to sign off that the service is complete. So then with this release, you'll be able to create the teams and, as I mentioned, identify who is to indicate that a service is complete. And you can use these tools to, communicate with the students so they know that, this is the plan and are we off track? Because if we're off track, sometimes plans need to be updated and modified. So, things happen, and so you can update the plan. And then watch for those that are in the off-track status. We want to make sure that we're being proactive and keeping them on track. Okay. And then are there any questions have you noticed any questions that haven't been answered as I've been going through this?
Just the one that we're going to answer when you're done.
Oh, okay. And so again, next steps. Please, if you haven't done so already, take a look at that ATIM team guide for creating and using personalized training and employment plans. Just to kind of, I know some people have already entered people into training programs, and that's great. It'd be a great time to get your feedback as well on this guide. And then as I've said numerous times already, we do want to make sure, please let us know who those team members are so they have access to the tools, and send that information to info@illinoisworknet.com. We need to know who they are, we need to know what their role is, and then we need to know what regions they should have access to, because we're not just giving access to anybody that sends us an email and requests it. So we need to know from, the contacts who should have access to these locations, your project managers. And then also watch for the Personalized Training and Employment release notification. I believe the release date for that is scheduled for November 1st.
Great. So that's what we're talking about here, the projected release date for this segment of the tools on ATIM is the November 1st date?
Yes.
Okay. Does the audience have any other questions to go over any of these items?
But I do know, in preparation for that date, we do have, we do need to have some of the teams more fully rounded. I believe we're a little light in the employer area. So we need to have some employers identified so they can be part of the team approach.
Right.
And let me add to Natasha, this is Mike. Employer, for the purpose of creating the personalized training plan, can be a subject matter expert in manufacturing. So it could be a training provider, but we just want to make sure that what we are entering the person into training is a fit for the occupations that are in demand, and also where they're going to be able to get a job at the end of the day. So to the extent possible, we'd like employers to be at the table on that, but if that is problematic, a subject matter expert is better than nothing.
And Sarah is asking for the Collier County region. Is Joel Goldberg sending you employer requests? And Jamie's saying, what do you mean by employer requests? So maybe Sarah needs to explain that a little bit more.
You mean request to have employers given access so that they can participate in this?
All right. So have you been, Natasha, do you know if, or Chelsea or Lacey, do you know if the Collier counties have been getting requests for to be added to the group?
Lacey's been the person that's been collecting the information.
All right. So Lacey,
So
do you want to put
she's
something
available.
Actually, Natasha, if you could have someone prepare for me a list of all of the individuals that we have and the level of access that they have for each region, we can share that with the folks on the Friday partner call, and
Sure.
we can identify for me what gaps need to be filled in, and we'll make sure that they address those.
Sounds good.
Great. All right. So, Natasha, do you think you're done with this portion of the call?
Yes.
Okay. So then let's take a quick answer for Sarah, who asked a question a little bit earlier that indicated that what do you do with customers who have passed TABE because they've passed the 6th grade eligibility for WIA, but they haven't gotten beyond the 8th grade level? So Mike Baker, do you want to take a stab at answering that for Sarah?
Sure, absolutely. Sarah, that is a fantastic question. And you're right, there is an opportunity for confusion on the part of the customers and case managers and everyone for that matter. So I'm glad you brought it up. You got to remember that the 6th grade level is an absolute floor, that if somebody was below that level, there's no way that they would be considered for the program. So what we're testing is, okay, are you at 6th grade or above? And hopefully the higher the better for entry into the program. But we wanted to give everyone the flexibility. Say if somebody had a 7th grade math but an 11th grade reading. So obviously they're bright, it's just they may need a short brush up on their math skills. So if we could get their math skills up to 9th grade through remedial training or traditional bridge programming, we didn't want to exclude folks that have a reasonable shot at getting their reading and math scores up to where they need to be. So you've got to remember that just because you passed the baseline bare minimum of TABE, that does not make you suitable or likely to succeed in the program. That just says that you passed the first bare hurdle. We also wanted to give folks the flexibility to take into consideration if somebody had a large amount of natural mechanical aptitude, either for whatever their experience is, or they have a knack for it. But when you talk to them or you hear about what they've been doing in their past, you say, yes, this person could do real well in manufacturing, but the scores are a little bit low on TABE. If that person comes into play, they still have a reasonable chance of success in a career in manufacturing. We just have to spend a little bit longer on them on the traditional bridge programming to get their scores up. That doesn't mean that they're going to succeed, and they have to be willing to put in the work, and they have to understand that that'll be part of it. It's like, you're going to have to do this reading and math work in order to get out and get a good job. So if they're willing to do that, we wanted to give the teams looking at people every opportunity to find folks that have a chance for succeeding. So it becomes very much a subjective analysis based on the objective testing that you have. You take that into consideration, but then you've got to look at the individual and say, okay, based on their TABE scores and all this other information, does this person have a good shot at succeeding? Because we want to set people up to succeed. And we also don't want people to be mired in bridge programming for a long period of time, because the longer they drag on in that, the less likely they're going to be able to move up the line and stay involved in the program.
Okay,
So,
Mike, can I interrupt you for just one moment?
sure.
On the documents that Natasha was showing us, where it might say passed or whatever, does it tell somewhere at what level their TABE score actually is, so that by WIA standards, passed means TABE, but we want to know that they've got a 9th or a 10th or an 11th grade level, not just a 7th grade level.
And their ATIM eligibility, the TABE scores do show up in the plan.
Okay.
Right.
All right.
So again, the 6th grade level is the bare baseline to even be considered for the program. After that, it's up to the team looking at the individual to determine if they have a good chance of success in the program.
All right. And then Sarah just said, but if I assess and believe she is not suitable, are there technical steps I need to take in Illinois WorkNet or IWDS to indicate this? The specific customer is red in Illinois WorkNet.
That is a good question. We would have to look at that, because there needs to be the opportunity for the team to say, well, the team does have the opportunity to sign off and say, yes, I agree this person is suitable for the program. So I would guess that they could just not check that, or maybe we need to put in a box that says they're not.
You can indicate that they're not suitable.
Okay, so there you go. But that's a great question, Sarah. So the piece on the initial assessment, that all is available at this point, isn't it, Natasha?
What? Say it again.
Sarah's asking, is this accessible right now?
For the team to indicate.
Yes. Well, for the team, yes. Yeah.
All right, and then she's asking, can you show us where? And I notice you have the screen share up. Do you want to pull that over and?
Yeah. See if I can find somebody in my see if I have a person in my here's I have a person here that, okay, well, here's what I did. Went to my ATIM dashboard, and I can see that this person is not set. So I can click here and go to see who's not set, or I can click on ready to be assigned, because you have to be real eligible to even go on to this step. So I can either click one of those two, filter it out. So I found a person that has they're WIA eligible, and again, this is just fake data, so I don't share real people information. I can select their assessments to say, and then and this is part of the team review. You take a look at their information, and then you can select their ATIM eligibility, so either yes or no. And we remove the word suitability, but it was previously called suitability. So it's either yes or no.
So this is on the customer screen.
On their, yeah, if you go to their, whenever you go to their, my computer's been taking a long time today for some reason, but you go to the customer, you'll see the ATIM eligibility. That's what you're determining. If this wasn't just a test data, you would see their math and reading score right here. Let's just assume, well, you have to assume that their, math and reading score is above 6th grade level, or 6th grade level or above. I can add in my additional assessments. You can see I added it. I can remove it if I need to. The team reviews those optional assessments, and if they determine that this is not a good fit for this person, maybe they took an interest inventory and manufacturing was at the bottom of the list and art was at the top and everything else except manufacturing was at the top of the list. And you can say, well, this person just would not be a good fit for this program. You can either select yes or no. Select no, enter the date, set eligibility.
Okay, I think Sarah's still a little bit confused. I've told her that she needs to access this from the ATIM tools where the dashboard is. And the dashboard is the screen with all the red, yellow, and green. And then you would select the people from there.
You could do it that way. I just showed you from the dashboard. I mean, you go to your customer list, and if you know which person it is, I just didn't know off the top of my head who's what, so I click a profile person, and then I can see their information. This one has tapes, their assessment scores in there.
And is WIA eligibility determined through the IWDS process?
Yes.
Okay. So Sarah, if you're processing them in IWDS, then that WIA eligibility would show up. And then you can see them from here because the IWDS information propagates the ATIM fields.
And here's a key thing. If they're not eligible, or, I mean, this person, you see they have their math score, their test scores and their high test scores, but for whatever reason, they're marked as not eligible. If they're not WIA eligible, you can't do anything else with them.
And
It's
Sarah,
only whenever they're set as ready to be assigned can you do the other steps.
And Sarah, I'm not real big on how IWDS works. Maybe you can check with one of the folks from
The step that indicates, that triggers this in IWDS is you have to click the button to certify. Once you click the certify button, then it sends the information to Illinois WorkNet. The eligibility information to WorkNet. Well, you can't actually certify, but you have to click on certify. And I thought we have an FAQ about that. I thought a message was sent out to everyone regarding that. If you go to FAQ, eligible applicants, it's here. Attempting to certify makes it visible in the ATIM tools. Then they have to be assigned to treatment controller veteran. Once the person is assigned to an ATIM group where there's treatment controller veteran, well, it'd be treatment or veteran, then they can be certified in IWDS. And so then in addition to that, we have the steps here of where everything takes place. Information through IWDS, through ATIM tools through the random assignment system, drug test, and, ATIM tools, random assignment here. So anyway, all this information is available on the FAQ, and it's also, when you click to attempt to certify, we modified the message in IWDS to include this information.
Sarah, does that help you?
because the message before was kind of confusing. So they added this to clarify.
Yeah, these latest steps were developed in conjunction with WorkNet and the IWDS team and SPR. So this is like the final agreement on how the process needs to flow, right, Natasha?
Yeah.
Right.
What date to use when you attempt to certify? Does that matter?
System will generate the date, won't it?
Natasha?
That's an IWDS question.
All right, so we'll have to find out from Jerry and add that to the FAQ for you.
Sarah, I asked you were going until just before or just after. You said yes. Was that yes in response to my question?
All right.
So I was asking you, is it before or after? I think the question's moot now anyway.
Right.
Yeah, so
Right. Okay, so if we don't have any other questions from the audience, we can conclude this webinar and check for any additional updates on the FAQ. And Natasha, do you want to show them again real quickly on the screen where they can see the latest updates?
Yep. At the bottom, remember you go to your ATIM guide. It's in the footer. And then we have our ATIM update.
And it has it listed by date so that if you happen to have missed an email, you can see what the latest update is happening on ATIM. All right. So if we see no other typing going on, we thank you for your participation today. Have a great rest of your day, and we will see you on the next webinar, which is...
Also, real quick before we forget or move on, also, if you have any questions, you can always send them to us through the FAQ. You can just type it in here, and then we'll answer it and submit it as well.
And just to emphasize, the intent behind showing everyone these before they're rolled out is to give everyone the opportunity to give us some feedback if we miss something huge, or if someone has an idea of something that could be a simple programming tweak that would make it easier for everyone to understand and use. So we're trying not to assume how this is all going to work and then deploy it and then not take the end user into consideration. So sometimes it's frustrating to see this stuff and know you can't use it right away. But the alternative is for us to build it and then throw it at everybody without giving you the chance to see any piece of it, and hope